So hi, I'm back. Sorry for the abrupt ending there. I was just so carried away in my very unconcise story that I was like, looked at the watch, was like, I gotta go. I have class in 33 minutes and it takes me sometimes 33 minutes to get there. So luckily I made it to class with 5 minutes to spare. But um, when I was a kid, I had watched this movie Mask, and it was like very traumatic, the movie, like as a kid. Like I don't know, I don't remember a whole lot of it, but what I did love, like I was like, oh, that's cool. Like it made me want to be a race car driver. And it was just this weird thing that, like, it wasn't like I ever like sought it out or did anything, but like there is a piece of me when I get in the car, I still think I am that little girl that wanted to be a race car driver. So it is a good thing that I have a very large truck that does not allow me to maneuver or drive crazy or anything like that. Well, I'll take that back. I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't have the, 0 to 60 and the time you have, but I love my Big Bertha. She's taken us on a lot of cool places, and she's almost always got me home safely. I had one car accident where some kid T-boned me, and the kids were all in the car and they were all loose, and I think we had just seen like the Lego movie, and I think we were like going to Toys R Us to look at toys. I think my one son's birthday was coming up, my youngest, and so I'm driving and I'm going straight. I have the green light to go straight. Well, the young kid who was driving the other car, he took like, so for him, it would have been like a left turn right into me. But everybody else was so loosey goosey, nothing happened to them. And like, but for me, I wasn't like hospitalized or anything, but like, it was like a terrible injury. Like, I think because I just tensed up so much, like trying to like swerve and try to protect the whole family. Like, I don't know. So like I ended up like my spine ended up going backwards and like in my neck. I'm supposed to have neck surgery. I'm not doing that. Like I, for years, was in PT for my shoulder and my arm. Like literally couldn't sleep on that side, just so much pain numbing down it. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I was hospitalized or anything, but it definitely like inflicted damage onto my spine. And I partially believe this is like why my kids do not like to drive either, is like they witnessed the accident, they were in the accident, and even though that they were okay, we had a big bag of candy in the car because we had been to the movies, or we're going to, I think we had already been to the movies, but we had this big bag of candy, and they always talk about this, the candy went flying everywhere. And just, I mean, it's so funny, the things that stick out in your mind as a memory. But anyways, yeah, so sometimes I still think I'm like, I have that little bit of race car driver. I like to like look ahead and be like, oh, here's my spot. So I am encouraged by my daughter. I had a few years ago or months ago or whatever it was now, maybe last year, I had like heard this thing, and it was patience is power. So for a little while I was like walking around like patience is power, because I am admittedly like so impatient, like when it comes to certain things. Like in the instant I'm impatient, but like, oh, I am patient enough to know that it's gonna take years to lose over 100 pounds. It's going, I'm patient, like strategically, but like, come on, let's go. Like sometimes, like when my kids, especially when they're little, it would be like, okay, we gotta go. Like I can't stand being late either. When I was young, I would be late. Like, oh, I'm gonna sleep in, I'm gonna snooze. And I don't know who it was, but somebody had told me, and I think I'm actually, as I'm recalling this, we're gonna go back again. So, okay, so I was always late. I like came to school back at, and we're talking about Notre Dame again. So I would come into school every day, like 30 minutes late. And granted, my school was like 2 cities away, but I still could have been there. Like there, I had to go sit in traffic to get to school, but I didn't. So I would just come in late. And there was a lovely teacher named Miss Molnar. And I remember one day she pulled me into the library. She said, you need to meet me in the library. It was like chronically, I would sit in detention, didn't care. But I was like, I'd rather be here later in the afternoon than get up early in the morning. And she was like the first person, like an adult that was outside of my family, that ever saw anything in me, like that ever like kind of celebrated me. So, I went in there like, I'm going to be in so much trouble. I know it's because I'm late all the time. I'm at that point, I was going through a weird phase. I wasn't even like, and it was just limited to this class, but I wasn't even like turning in my assignments. I would do them, but I just, for whatever reasons, we'll probably get to it someday, but I know now what was going on. And I was going through some really traumatic things, and I was processing them all by myself. And, some things I was like, who cares? Like, I didn't see the value in it, or just didn't think about it. I don't know. But anyways, and she pulled me into the library and she was like, Natasha, I really, like, I'm trying to understand, like, what is it, like, what is going on? Like, what is this block against you coming to school in time? And, you're sitting here, you're telling me, oh, you did the work, you're just not turning it in. Like, well, yeah, you're here late. You don't get to turn in the assignments. And, I thought this teacher hated me, but she just started talking to me. And then she was just like, do you know how much potential is in you? Like, I see something in you that is great. And what you're showing me is not great. Like, people, and she went on this whole explanation about like respecting people and respecting their time. And when I come in late to something, it's essentially like a big F you to them. And I've always been a person that like wants to give joy. I don't want to be a joy taker. Like, I want to like walk in the room and make people happy. I want to, walk in the room and like elevate the energy. I don't want to bring it down. I don't want to be like, ew, that person's wearing this, or ew. And I know that there's been times that I have been a joy taker, and I will, I've had to do my own reflections on those things. But overall, like, who I am at my core, I really want to be somebody who is like contributing joy to people and not hurting them. So to hear the result on this teacher who had taken her time to make a lesson plan and present it to the class, that I basically was saying every single morning, F you, when I would just roll in late and, not apologize or whatever. And the fact that she said she saw something in me, I was like, oh, like, she doesn't hate me. And, oh, if she sees something in me, then there's got to be something in me. Because, yeah, of course, my grandma's going to say that, and my aunts are going to, like, this is just what you say to the people you love or whatever. And so, and I didn't hear it very often, but I had heard it from other people. And so her saying this, and I, went home and I thought about it, and I was like, she's taught many young girls, and she's, taught even many in this class. And as far as I'm aware, she hasn't said this to anybody else. So it made me feel really special. And now I had this extra layer of connection with her. So it's like, if she made me feel special, I really don't want to be hurting her all the time. Why would I want to hurt or offend somebody? So since then, I've had this, like, I cannot, like, I don't hate anything, but I hate being late. Like, it triggers me like no other. And especially like with my kids, like when you have 4 kids in 4 different schools, or 3 different schools, but 4 different pickups, like, this life needed to run like a well-oiled machine. There wasn't room for error. And when you're dealing with especially the teenage girl, it's the 2 middle children. Let me rephrase that. My 2 middle kids, the girl, yes, she was doing her hair, her makeup, or whatever. She added all these extra layers of time that was required to just leave the house. But the youngest one, the youngest of the 2 middle, the senior in high school now, he just rides that edge. He likes to, and like I build in time even. I'm like, okay, we have to be someplace at 9. I'm like, okay, or leave at 9. I tell Dylan 8:45, and still half the time is not. And I've had this conversation with them all umpteen times. I think he's getting a little bit better. Seems like it, but I don't, well, it is a work in process because it drives, like, it is a trigger. Like, if they get to the car and I'm taking them and I've been sitting there for 3 minutes, because I asked them, okay, what time are we leaving tomorrow? 8:10? Okay, I'm in the car 8:09, 8:10. And it's now 8:11, 8:12, 8:15. I haven't got a text like, hey, Mom, sorry, my alarm didn't go off. Hey, Mom, sorry, my stomach hurts, I'm in the bath. Some kind of communication, because errors happen, life happens, like things don't always go as planned. I totally get that, but communicate to me. Now I'm sitting here in the car and every minute feels like an eternity. Every minute feels like a slap in the face. Every minute feels like a big F you to me. So then, they get in the car and they know it's coming. The mom talk from home to thing. It's not the usual, okay, we're going to listen to Good Morning playlist and get everybody jazzed up in the morning, which by now, like, these songs drive them absolutely batty. Like, they hear it, but I do hear them sing it every once in a while, like just on their own or put it on for themselves. So, it's getting in there, even though it drives them nuts. But, yeah, so like those days, it's like, no, Mom is not playing. Like, this is disrespectful to not just me. Like, it's disrespectful to anybody else. And yeah, I'm driving you, but you have an effect when you do this. Now you make this person late and this thing. So it's really a thing of realizing how much it affects everybody else just because you had this desire. There was no reason for it, whatever, that you didn't want to do. If you didn't want to go at that time or didn't want to meet at this time or whatever, then don't arrange that. So I don't know. Anyways, I cannot stand being late. And even for me, if I'm going someplace, and it's just me, if I'm leaving to take them to school, okay, whatever, they are the masters of their own destiny. But like, if it's me going someplace, like, I have this like things instilled in me where it's like, if I'm not 5 or 10 or 15 minutes early, I'm late. Like, I feel like rushed. Like, I don't have room for air. If I'm commuting down to the gym, if there's an accident or if there's construction on the freeway, or if there's just a slew of slow, bad drivers or big trucks or the tech buses, then now I'm feeling anxious. And when I'm feeling anxious, I'm not the best driver, right? I'm going to make stupid decisions. I'm going to try to go weave in it. So, like, having that extra time in the car, if I leave 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I usually leave about 45 minutes. That usually is enough. And I'll be damned if any time I don't, that's the time that I feel anxious the whole way there. I feel like I'm the race car driver. I have to do that. And then I get there and I'm like, I still have 5 or 10 minutes. Like, I didn't need to do all that, but I did anyways. And so a little piece of me enjoys it because I wanted to be a race car driver, but it's just not, no. So that's something else I need to work on. Yes. But anyways, I used to have, so for a long time, I don't have patience. That was where the whole point of this was, right? And I had read this someplace or heard it on a podcast or a YouTube or whatever it was. And it was patience is power. Patience is power. And so for a few weeks, I was kind of meditating on that. And like, I was even telling it to my kids because it was like check and balance. So it's like, if I was like, come on, we need to go, they would be like, patience is power, Mom. And I'd be like, oh, I've created little monsters here, haven't I? So, my daughter is, I'm not sure how her boyfriend drives. It must be pretty mellow because when she gets in the car with me now, and she drives with him predominantly now. And so when she gets in the car with me now, she's like, you're driving. It's so scary. It's going to kill me one of these days. I'm going to have a heart attack. And I feel bad because that's exactly how I feel if Chris is driving a car. Like, the whole time I'm just on edge. So I try now to like, be like, okay, like, be cognizant that others are in the car and, not feeling safe, of, don't argue it. Just, I'd rather her be in the car and feel safe. What's the worst thing that happens? It's going to take me an extra 5 or 10 minutes to get there. Okay, so what? Big deal. I get 5 or 10 minutes with my kids versus making her feel stressed out. And wherever we're destination to, she's going to be on one when she gets there because she just spent 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, feeling anxious. And so I know that feeling, and then I remember, I used to always tell Chris, hey, when you're doing this, I feel really stressed. I feel really scared. I could, and then his argument was will you do this? And I was like, yes, but I'm in control. I have been training to be a race car driver. I am the teacher. I am the instructor, but no. But I feel in control. I trust myself. I don't trust him. So, I tell him, and instead of being hey, I get that, I hear that, I'll try to drive slower. It's it was always a big argument about why do I feel this way and I shouldn't feel this way and I do it too. And it was just I just wanted to be heard and said I get it. It's confusing because you also do this or whatever. But hey, if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel more relaxed in the car, I'll chill out in the slow lane. Even though I never drive in the slow lane unless I'm getting off the freeway. But or I have kids in the car that aren't mine. And when she got in the car recently, a couple weeks ago, she was like, Mom, remember, patience is power. And I hadn't heard it for a while. So now I have a Post-it note hanging in the car and it says patience is power. And it's just this reminder, when I start feeling I need to go, I need to get there, or I just need to pass this car because they're going 50 in the fast lane, and whatever thing that just irritates me on the road or whatever. That's other side of me that comes out. Probably I don't bring a lot of people joy on the freeway. Probably should work on that. But so anyways, patience is power. That was my word, my quote for a little while, and it is now in the car. So anyways, I had to make it down to the gym, which I made it there. So you can just kind of guess on the driving. Thankfully, it wasn't too many people on the roads. So that was actually very nice. So I got there nice and smooth. But that's why I had to abruptly leave. I was like, oh no, I gotta go. So I just wanted to finish off because I'm just one of those people that by the time tomorrow comes, already 57,000 different ideas have popped in my head to talk about. I'm oh, I want to share this. I feel this is a when you meet a new friend and you're just so excited to share stuff and hear their stories. Now, granted, I can't hear your stories unless maybe there's a chat or there's something like that. So that will come. But I feel it's just I'm in that excited mode where I'm oh my gosh, I have so much to share. And I've been kind of doing this all along, but it's been in a written format. And that takes a lot longer because I'm just doing it as I'm running. And most of the time, very rarely. I mean, I used to on occasion do it on an iPad with a little keyboard. But most of the time now, it's just when I'm my fake running and I'm just doing it like this. So it is very tedious, but it is really good. I have worked through, I have healed, I have remembered, I have released, I have rediscovered so many things about me by doing this consistent writing. And I know not everybody's a writer or a reader, and so you have to find what works for you. But just for me, just situations with my kids, situations with my significant other, situations with strangers, just anything. It has been, situations in particular in my past, part of these stories that make me me, there's been so much trauma and just pain that sat in here, and I did not have the tools to handle it. I didn't even know, I had just became whatever anybody wanted me to be, and I just silenced that whole inner person inside of me, like from a very young age. I just felt like my job was to be a caregiver. My job was to be a parent. And my job was to basically shut up and be quiet and submiss any kind of thoughts I had, any feelings, just silence it all. And that way, everybody would be happy and life would be peaceful and I would have friends and my family would love me. And at the end, what ended up happening to me in 2020, I believe it was 2020, is I just simply, like, not being dramatic or anything, like I had already been in therapy for a couple years. And I wasn't being fully honest in the therapy. I would share the things that I felt like maybe she wanted to hear, or I would share like things that would still, because I love my therapist. Like, she became like almost like a friend I got to talk to once a week that I knew had all my confidence. Like, whatever I said was never going to come back to the people I was, like frustrated with. And nothing I was going to say was going to be used against me. But it was like still very selective, the topics we discussed. Like, I didn't want to go too deep on certain things, and other things I was comfortable going deep with because I think I had already done some work on them. And so I felt like secure enough to do that. And there were so many other issues, and there still are, that I just didn't even have the courage, strength, or power. Or it's like, if I talked about it, like, it made these things real, and I didn't want them to be real. It was just, some of them were just such nightmares, like things that like no child or person should ever witness or experience. And then to kind of be alone in the processing of that, as most of us were. I'm not saying I'm any different and, you guys had these great things. No, it's just, this is how I became me. Like, those traumas were pivotal movements in my life and the way I reacted, and the way, like, I always say, like, talk about like a filter, like the filter in which I see the world. You and I could see two things, one thing, and it be one thing, and like, I see it with my filter and you see it with your filter, and we see two different things even though it's the same object. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And so, like, I frequently, like even today, like I tried a new class this morning, and after I was done, this lovely lady Lynn first, actually, when I was done, because this is a class I'm not accustomed to, so I go in the back because I want to, like, I'm trying to feel it out, I'm trying to get to know everything, like I'm trying to learn the choreography, which is like a very complex in my brain. And so I'm in the back, but I'm still like vibing, I'm still smiling, like, I may not be doing this anywhere near right, but I'm having a good time, I'm working out. This is what it's about. And this lovely lady, Michelle, came up and introduced herself, and she just said, "You bring so much joy, like, you need to come to the front, like, no more in the back. I saw you came on Monday." And I was telling my friend, like, this girl needs to come in the front, because there is just too much pouting in this world and too much sad faces, but you come in here and you have a big old smile and you bring all this energy, like, you are joy. And so, like, I hear things, and I'm not just like trying to toot my own horn or something like that. Like, I hear that frequently, and I was like, oh my God, you like made my day. That was so nice to, like, first off, in this packed class, to like notice me, and then like in the back, I'm over here hiding, and then to like have the courage to come and say something and compliment me, like, what a nice person, And so then later on, I went over to go get some water, and I was walking over there, and this lovely lady, Lynn, I met her, like, I've seen her and said hi in classes and stuff before. And she was just like, wow, how much more have you lost? And, I explained to her my whole scale thing, and, well, what do you do? And I was like, I only dance, I do my steps, and I intermittent fast. Like, those are my things. And she's like, wow, no, you have lost more weight. And I'm like, well, thank you. You're my scale. And she's like, you're so inspirational. It's like, do you know how many people you inspire in these classes by like not only the way that you're transforming your physical appearance, but also by like the energy and the enthusiasm you bring in. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, my daughter's having a problem. She's in college. I won't say the name of her college because, you know, I don't want it to come back or whatever. But, you know, she's experiencing problems and she's binge eating and throwing up, and she's like, could you talk to my daughter? Like, you make it look so easy. You make it, and I'm like, it is easy in a sense. Like, you have to have like the constant discipline. And if you do, this is a very, I'm like, it's free. It's, you know, a lifestyle change. It's sustainable. So like, yeah, when, you know, I told her I had tried before doing a, you know, calorie deficit of 1,200 calories a day. And it was painful. It was brutal. I was crying. I was miserable. I remember going to the damn Chili's. Like I said, it was like a salad that I loved, a quesadilla explosion. And it was 2,400 calories. And I was more than 24. And I remember just literally crying in the restaurant. I don't cry too often. I usually don't cry over salad. I prefer spilled milk. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, so here I am like literally crying in the Chili's, and I'm like, I can't eat anything. And this is 2 days of food for me. Like hysterically crying, you know? And the people I was with were like, why don't you just ask for half and half? I'm like, still, that is my one meal. That is all I get to eat if I eat this salad twice. And I think I ended up not eating, or I ended up just saying, screw it. And I ate that day, and I was like, oh, well, whatever. You know, and this was, you know, gosh, now probably 15 years, 10 years, something like that. I think, yeah, about 15 years ago. So it was quite, I mean, it was such an impact that, so when I went on that diet, what had happened to me was, I was taking this big trip, and I was like, no. I had taken a big trip, and I'm going in a bathing suit for most of the days. And, I look like this, there's just no way. And so I had like 3 months to like hardcore go in and start losing weight. And at that time I was 260, and, I was just hardcore. I was doing The Biggest Loser was on TV at that time. I was doing like Biggest Loser workouts that you could, they were like on our Xfinity Comcast or whatever. I was doing those. I was doing all kinds of like, then I was finding joy in doing push-ups and pull-ups, or not pull-ups, I've never done a pull-up, push-ups. Actually, there's a funny story about that, but that's another day. But push-ups, all the sit-ups, like a lot of weight stuff. And I was just so freaking like trying to be beast mode, limiting my calories to 1,200 calories. And most days I was okay. One thing that was kind of intriguing about it was, for me, like, I had never, like, I would like look at the calories, but I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I didn't really like break down like the serving to the calorie. And so like when I was actually like limiting and I had to measure, I remember like wanting Raisin Bran. And so I had, I can't remember the exact ratio. I think it was like, okay, 1 serving. So I'm thinking it's a bowl. No, it was like 3/4 of a cup and 1/4 of a cup of milk. And I was like, when I eat Raisin Bran, I'm eating like 10 servings if this is one. So it was kind of interesting just to kind of have like what was like the most impactful, like in a positive way at that time, was having this like checks and balance. And I realized like I was just out of control. There was like, I didn't look, I didn't care. Like, and if I did look, I had this distorted idea of what a serving size was. And I was like, whatever. So I did lose in the 3 months, 30 pounds. And, you know, I was feeling like pretty good. I was on, and if I would have maybe stuck with it, cause like my meals too, it would be just a piece of lettuce with a piece of turkey, like half a piece of cheese, like rolled, like it seems so deprived. Like, and then in the meantime, like it was at a time when, you know, I have young kids and I I had grown up in a home where my dad had like his own personal struggles with weight. Even though he looked great, like it was just, he didn't ever not want to look great. And so, I mean, like the meals around our house sometimes when he cooked was like literally boiled chicken without any flavoring, just plain steamed broccoli. And I did not like broccoli back then. A lot of health foods, like he would just drink raw eggs, like the Schwarzenegger, like all the protein shakes and creatines all around the house. I didn't like any of that stuff. Like our cereal was literally bran. We didn't even get the raisins in it. It was just straight bran. If we wanted some sweetness to it, he would allow us to put like half a teaspoon of Nestle Quick in it, a little strawberry Nestle Quick in there to cut the edge. But that was like the breakfast. It was like we were eating wheat bread when people were still eating the Wonder Bread every day. And I was like, I want a Wonder Bread sandwich, okay? No chips. I did not know, like, you look over and the kid next to you is open up their bag of Doritos. Nope. Did not have that. And like I said, back then I was a pretty picky eater and was like, I think corn was like the only vegetable I liked. So it was very challenging. I always felt like in a deprived state when it came to food. Hence the reason when I lived on my own, it was like freaking no holds barred. Or if I visited my aunts, or eventually whenever I visited my grandma's where my mom was, it was like ho city, Twinkie, ding dong, chip soda. You drank it, ate it. I mean, I remember coming home, my dad be like, damn, you gained some weight there. That's why we don't have all these treats in the house. So I totally just binged. I had zero self-control. And so when I was going through this, I still didn't want to make my kids, like, even though I was choosing your healthier meals, like they were athletes. They were burning calories constantly, so, and I didn't want to take, just because I was having a struggle, I didn't want to take away the things that they enjoyed, that kind of like is part of their little childhood. So, they still their little goodies and things like that. But, yeah, so that 1,200 calorie business does not work for me. I still don't look at like the calories of anything. Like I don't at all. It's just not healthy for me. I mean, maybe it would be healthy, but like, it's just mentally not healthy. I work out a lot. I enjoy that. And I'm doing my intermittent fasting, and whatever happens. If this is the smallest I get and then I start gaining weight, that's what's going to happen. I'm not going to, I would rather live a life with bread and pasta and my sweet indulgences and live maybe 6 months less than a life without them for like the next, I don't know, let's hope 60 years. And no, I don't want to. I'm not at that stage of my health journey yet. But yeah, no. So anyways, I say all that to say, she was sharing with me that not only does her daughter have this, but the daughter has two roommates and they're also binge eating and purging. And it just breaks my heart. I'm not going to lie. I have done that before when I was young. And then, I happened to like mess up my esophagus or something like that. And like, I heard something about teeth falling out, and that was enough. Like, that was where I was like, listen, I'm out. Like, I don't care, then I'll just be fat. I tried before being like anorexic, and I was just like, I just love food too much. This is like torture upon torture. And so it was like, yeah, maybe like I thought back then I skipped a meal and I was anorexic. I don't know. So then I found like the binging and purging was very effective. I got to eat the food and enjoy it. The coming out part was definitely not enjoyable. But luckily, that was not a trait that carried on with me for a long time. It was something I did briefly, experimented with, and the experiment failed. And so, yeah. So, I've never been an advocate of like a diet per se, like myself personally. It just, any kind of rules or restrictions that are imposed upon me, I just want to rebel. I don't, like if it's not something like, okay, yeah, there's rules for my intermittent fasting, but they're choices, right? Like, this is just my choice. It's not like you have to eat this certain meal replacement shake, or you have to, pay this much money for this pill or this program, or, don't have to go into Weight Watchers and weigh yourself. Like, those all are great. And I am so grateful that there are these resources available for people, that these ways of living work. It just doesn't particularly work for me, and I know myself pretty well to know, like, no. And I've considered them all. I mean, there's like this thing online even that was like Noom or something like that. It all seemed intriguing, but this has been the only thing that I've done in my life as far as like health and diet that has been sustainable. I mean, to say I've done it, again, it's like this is day 3. Like, that's how intermittent fasting was. And there were days that I was like, I'm not doing it today. Like, I don't care. It is 9 a.m. and somebody's cooking bacon and eggs. And I wasn't hungry. Or maybe I was. But now I'm damn hungry. And to hell am I going to wait all the way to 1 o'clock after I'm smelling bacon and eggs all day? I'm going to go eat the bacon and eggs. And then sometimes it would kind of like mess with my stomach and be like, oh yeah, there is a difference now. My body has acclimated to this lifestyle. And I'm like, so, and I'm not to say that I don't. So there's days that like, just like that, like I fall off it. And it's not even like falling off a wagon or anything. It's just, I'm choosing that day to say, my body needs something more. My body, maybe it needs protein. Maybe it needs the eggs. It's saying you need to eat. And then there's other times that I can smell the bacon and eggs and be like, I'm not hungry. I really don't want bacon and eggs in the first place. So yeah. So with that, like I even say with this, like I'm at day 3, but that doesn't mean tomorrow life doesn't get in the way and I can't do anything. But it doesn't mean on day 5, I can't come back, or day 6 or day 7. Like, it's a process to make a new habit and a new routine. And I give myself that grace now. Like, before I would be so hard. Like, I was just so mean to myself. Like, oh, see, you can't, like inside some of the things that would go on, I just wouldn't say to anybody in this world. So why am I telling it to myself? And just having like that, like reminder, like how I tell my kids, like, I make a mistake every day. Like I make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. What I encourage you to do, and what I encourage myself to do, depending on the headspace I'm in, and sometimes it's in the moment, and sometimes it's later that day, and sometimes it's a week, month, or year, or 10 years, or 20 years later. But it's like, if you do make a mistake, I encourage you to try to find the lesson in it. Like, don't have that mistake occur in vain. Like, this mistake happened. Okay, great. But now you have this whole reframed like view of it. Oh, I made this mistake, and now I've learned this. So yeah, it was painful in the moment, and it's painful to know I made a mistake, but like, it's also very exciting to know I don't have to repeat the mistake. I can if I want to. I have that choice. I have that ability, but I can also change my future. I can change whatever it is. Like, if it was with a relationship, or with, maybe I was doing a workout and I went too overzealous and I wasn't warmed up and I pulled a muscle, like, or I went, I did too many leg things and now I'm not able to sit on a toilet, or, whatever it is like, okay, this doesn't feel right. So like, being able to finally, over these last few years, kind of like ask myself questions and be like, okay, something doesn't feel right. Like, what's the problem? Where's the mistake? Like, what's going on? And then to be able to kind of like break it down and be like, oh, okay, now I understand. Let's try something different. And it doesn't mean that trying something different isn't going to lead to a different mistake or the same mistake. It's just at least not just accepting that like, this is our one only reality, that there's there's so many different possibilities out there. So, okay. We're like, what, how many minutes in? And I still never even got to like finish my story. So anyways, the whole point of me coming back on here again was this. Here we go. Okay. So I go off with my auntie and I'm in Florida. I had a great time in Florida. There was this place called Ybor City or something like that. Ybor City. I had seen nothing like this before. It was just amazing. And I was there with like my auntie who was like the definition of cool. And even though I was like 21 at the time, I think I just kind of recently had turned 21. And I had experience already, like, gone to bars. I had a fake ID and things like that. Oops, sorry, my bad. But no, I didn't, kids. I was a very good girl. I did not do anything wrong. But no, I had gone to the bars just to be the designated driver. But like we used to hang out at this place called the Carlos Club in San Carlos. It was like an old dive bar, and in this old dive bar there was like this fireplace and this raunchy couch, and like we would wrestle people almost so that like our crew could go and have the couch. Like in hindsight, so much nasty stuff was on that sofa. Like I want to go clean right now thinking about how disgusting that was. And then they always had these like, we went there because it was like such the epitome of the dive bar. It was like kind of convenient, like for everybody to get to, a little centralized. And they had karaoke, which was like a blast. But they had these dang like sewer problems. So like there'd be like, oh, just the smell of like nasty. Like we're like, oh, it stinks so bad. Like on occasion, like you trying to drink, like back then I think my drink of choice was Bud Light, and so I'd be trying to drink my Bud Light and it was like, oh, it stinks so bad, you know. And then just the weirdest people, you know, it's a dive bar, so you just, you know the thing. And back then it was smoking in there. It was so smoky and gross, but whatever. We were there way too often and way too young, but whatever, it worked. We survived. But oh my God. Okay, so I had never been, you know, this is my bar like experience is, you know, the Carlos Club. So I go to this Ybor City with my aunt because she lived in Tampa. And oh my God, it was like so cool. They like shut down the streets, and then people were just walking into all the bars and restaurants, and you'd have a country bar, and then you'd have one with like hip hop, and then a jazz bar, and different kinds of, all kinds of, whatever you want. You can go in and be like, okay, I like this vibe, or I didn't like this vibe. And I just had a blast. I was like, this is living. Oh my God. Like, it was so much fun. Like, meeting people and dancing, and people were doing like shots on the bar with like off their tummy. And like, this was like a whole new thing. Like, I think they had like putting shots on fire, and I'm sure they do all this stuff still, you know. But I'm an old lady. I don't go to, the only club I go to is the Bay Club, and that's where I do my dancing, and then I'm home by 8:00, and that's about it. But I probably could still tear it up, but I probably would, unless it was like a, you know, the senior citizen club or something. I don't know if I would feel, I don't know how I would feel in a club with a bunch of 20-year-olds. I don't know. Like, I would want to say I would be able to go in and have a good time. But I would at the very least, I'd have a good time people watching. Would I have a good time? I don't know. I'm curious, but there's like, I don't want to go to a bar by myself. You know, I would definitely need some liquid courage probably. You know, I'd feel weird just sitting there sober, checking people out. And maybe I'd get up and dance. I don't know. Like, if I was with like a group of people, I would have blast. Like, period, bottom line, didn't know, or even one or two. But by myself, I don't know. And so I don't know. I don't really know anybody who would be interested in. I mean, maybe actually this one lady from the gym. She funny. Maybe she would. Yulin, Celine, going. Okay, we're gonna go find a club and we're gonna go. But she's cute. So maybe she would do it. But anybody else, I don't see them as the club type. But anyways, so it was just so cool. And I was like, this is it. Like, it's got great weather. My auntie's here, and she's like the best. My cousin was there. My other cousin was there. Like, everybody was so nice to me there. Like, the people were just like happy. Like, it was just, I probably, in hindsight, with the driving situation and my patience, that was the only part that would get on my damn nerve. You would get behind somebody and I was like, listen, we do not need to drive 10 miles an hour in the 50-mile-an-hour zone. Like, I probably would have gave myself a heart attack or had road rage, having to deal with the amount of slow drivers, of people that had no place to go in a hurry, let me tell you. But anyways, so I had applied and I was accepted. But at the same time, my dad was now becoming more entrepreneurial, and he was like, how long is this real estate thing gonna last? He wanted to, up the game, right? So he wanted to open his own office, and he was, came to me. I'd worked for him a long time. He was making a lot of money. I was making pretty good money too. And he was like, hey, I know you've just got this opportunity to go into college in Florida, and I'm really happy for you. My dad, he's a salesman. He's a salesman. He's been a salesman since he was a teenager. And I'm this little girl still, even though I'm now 21, that doesn't want to upset her dad, right? Like, it's just I don't want to. I was 21, right? Yeah, I believe I was 21. Maybe I was 20, and I was going with that big idea. I don't remember. It was 20 or 21. I feel like I was 20. I don't know. Anyways, it was sometime then. And because I was like, man, time does fly. I believe it was sometime within there. So he had asked me, anyways, it's not really imperative the story. Now I'm just trying to question my own memory here. But was like, hey, I want to open this office, and there's nobody I trust more than you. You've done such a remarkable job helping us grow to this point. I want to focus more of my energy on getting agents and having it grow. And then, hopefully I can retire earlier. And I couldn't say no. Like, I wanted to. I really did. Like, I was so sad. I was like, finally, like, here's this opportunity for me to go do something by myself, but my dad needs me. My dad needs my help, and he wants me here. So it was like, I felt like this obligation to help him, because he had sacrificed so much of his life raising us, like being our dad, and not only being our dad, but also being our mom. And even though most of the time I won't negate all the work he did, but there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of parenting. Let me just tell you this: a lot of latchkey life, and you can just imagine. I don't know if you can imagine, but I'm sure some of these stories will come out, and you will just shake your head like, what? How is this girl even alive? Because I wonder it sometimes myself. I'm like, yeah, you are a resilient child and woman. So anyways, I couldn't say no. So there it goes. So my whole story, I don't even know how it began was, so that was my end of my college experience. And when I ended up getting pregnant with my son, my oldest son, I had made this promise. I was like, okay, like I was talking to my unborn child at this time. And I was like, okay, I didn't finish college, but my goal is to finish college before you go to college. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I had went on, and I had my own successes and things like that. But this is where I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like I said, this as a goal. Well, then I'm a pretty resourceful person, right? And I started figuring it out, and I started reading and researching, and I was like, okay, like, oh, we have to do like a college fund for like this point. I only had one kid. I have to set up a college fund. Like, how are they going to go to college? And I end up reading like, and for me, I was like, here is an opportunity. Okay. So like, I'm a resourceful person. So be mad at me or not, hate the player, not the game, or hate the game, not the player. That's what it is. Yes. So hate the game and not the player. I just, like, if I'm playing Survivor, I just outwitted the system, right? So I read in there so my kid's dad, he didn't finish high school. Okay, cool. And I didn't finish college. Okay, cool. That makes my kids first gen kids. Plain and simple. And I know it doesn't mean much, and I'm sure all their own accolades got there. I'm not saying me not being college educated or Chris not being college educated was the reason they got into the schools. But I also was okay with saying, I understand how competitive the nature of the beast is. And if you have one like leg up, if I can make this sacrifice and not go back to college for 20 something years. Now, at that time, I was only think I was going to delay it by 18. You know, I was like, cool, we'll go into college at the same time. I didn't really realize I was going to have this many more kids. And I should have, because like originally, like before I ever had kids, I wanted 6 boys. I knew girls were trouble, you know, like drama. And then after my son was born sick, I was like, I'm done. Don't want any more. Like, I wasn't ready for this one in the first place. No more kids. I ended up getting pregnant 2 more times. And then by the 3rd, I was like, listen, we're going to just plan this one like this, you know. I don't like this odd number. It just seems like if we go to a restaurant, 6 is better for the booth, or if we go to Disneyland, you know, the rides, it just makes more. These are the reasons why I thought I needed 4th kid. And my older 2 kids who were already in elementary school, and I felt like the 3rd one was kind of alone. Like, he didn't have this experience. Like, he had siblings, but they were older, and so it was like almost like they were on different wavelengths. So it was like he needed a buddy. Like, he needed somebody to have like his childhood experience with all the time, and truly, like, they're best friends. Like, it's so fun. It's just so cute. Rarely do I ever see them get on each other's nerves. Maybe it's just not in front of me. I'm sure they do, but like, they share room, and like, they're like so good to each other. Like, I adore them. So I adore them all, but I adore, like, they have this like idyllic, you know, sibling relationship and mine are all broken. So like, I have a lot of admiration for them for that. I hope it remains forever. But so that's how I have 4 kids. So I didn't expect, you know, this delay to go this long. So now I'm getting excited because I'm like, Tyler, you're a sophomore. Soon we're going to be doing our college applications together. And I don't know if I'll take a gap year though. I'd be, you know, between being like a mom and then having, you know, kids in college, and then I will go ahead and apply, and attend. I am so excited about it though, because, and I think I can like start taking like soon. I'm going to start taking like 1 or 2, like, I just want to start over fresh. Like, I know like some of my units could carry over, but I am like so excited to learn. Like, sometimes I say to my kids, like, I really feel like a college education is wasted on so many like young, dumb 18, 19, 20. And I know there could be various ages, 20, 21, 22. Like, it's so wasted. It's so wasted. Like, it's like, you don't really care. You do a lot of, at least with my kids, some of the courses they really cared about. But some of them, it was just, they were doing the job that was required of them. And even though it was like subject matters, right? You get to pick your own courses. It's not like, oh, you have to take, I mean, you do have rules, but you can have some flexibility within there. So it's like, for me, like, I'm just so excited. I'm like, now, like, if I lived close enough to a college where I could just go to the college, listen to the classes, and never like be tested, I'd be there all day. Like, I don't necessarily feel like I need to prove to somebody I learned the material. I'm in here because I want to learn. I'm in here because I find this fascinating. I'm in here because I don't find this fascinating, but the fact that you are so passionate and fascinated by it, I am suddenly like, I'm in. You have pulled me into this is your thing that makes you just, you know, this is like, for me, like sharing with you, or like inspiring somebody or motivating somebody. I don't know if I'm inspiring, but you know, I'll use their words, like motivating somebody or motivating myself even, or, you know, just sharing things. Like, that's how passionate I feel. Like, I feel so strongly about it. Like, I just want to, like, I'm a kid. I get giddy. It's not work. It's just, it's like, it's air, it's breath, it's life. Like, so like, when you hear, like, I remember my son took this astronomy class while he was at Cal, and he had some virtual like options because the class was so popular. It was like overly filled, and then the like fire inspector or whatever would come and say, with too many people, like you can't sit in certain places. So he also like filmed and broadcasted his lectures. And my God, like I would be like, can I have the link, please? And I don't know. And I still don't. I do know, and he didn't know this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna bust it, but you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not a big science person here, but I was so energized by his energy. I'm like, whoa, like planets are really cool, the stars and constellation. Like, I don't even know what he was talking about, like I said, half the time, but I was so just in amazement from him. So that's what I say, like I feel like a part of education, like I guess there's some things that you need to be tested to, like, in some way know your proficiency. But why do I need to be tested to prove that I know this? Like, we're just wasting time. And if like I have questions, I should feel comfortable enough to come up to you, like, and I guess there's like to be like, I may think I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, that happens. But for the most part, like I think that would be so fun just to like go in and here, like get a dabble in, like pop in today to this class and be like, I'm not bored or whatever, the teaching style doesn't jive with me or whatever. And then I mean, kind of like my dance classes. So when I first started the gym was in 2021. So in 2022, my New Year's resolution, and I wasn't a resolution person, but like it was just like my New Year's goal or whatever, was to do. So there was 52 weeks. So I had to do 52 different classes. Like it could be the same class if it was a different instructor. So it was like if I did Zumba, and I did Zumba with David, and I did Zumba with Maria, and I did Zumba with Olga, like that counted as 3, like if as long as they were 3 different classes. And so I got to the 52 in like October or something like that. So I ended up far exceeding it, but it was really fun because I got out of my comfort zone and was like, okay, I know what I like. I like to dance, and I know what I don't like. Like I don't like boot camp. I don't like feeling like I'm working out, even though I do like aspects of it. Like I do like how strong and empowered I feel by it. But it's not like at the end of the class, my instructors are like, okay, now we're going to test you on what you learned in October. Like, no, like your test is being able to go out and do it. Your test is being able to go out and teach it. You're, like share that knowledge. If I, somebody asks me something, or my test is the song comes back on and I remember part of the choreography. Everything in life doesn't have to be a test, but I guess that's part of the education system we have, which not that I'm opposed to tests. Like, I'm not like I'm a bad test taker. I don't get like test anxiety or anything, but it's just like, what are we having to prove, and why are we putting it on a scale? Like, if you're putting in this extra pressure, like, am I learning it to learn it, or am I learning it because you're telling me to, because you're going to test me one day? I don't know. It just seems like something is lost there. It doesn't like compute in my brain, but I am so excited to like go to college, and I mess with my youngest. I'm like, I can't wait. Like, we're going to go to the same college. I'll cook, make those coveted meals. And I wouldn't. I mean, I really wouldn't, unless we like both got into some like school neither one of us could turn down. I think that would be like, he needs his space and he needs his place. And yeah, like, I wouldn't. Maybe I'd transfer in, once he's settled. But I mean, I think it would just be kind of weird to be like walking past mom on campus, like, what? I'd be like, what are you doing? What's going on? I actually, knowing me, I'd be like, where's the party? Can I come? Like, my daughter off at school, I'm like, where's my bid? I want to go to the frat party. Come on. Like, I'm ready to party. I want to dance. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. I just want to go and have some fun. She doesn't even want to go. So I'm like, sometimes I question, are you really my daughter? But no, I'm proud that she knows who she is and she doesn't like that. And it definitely makes me feel like a lot more safe. Like, I feel like, she's making safe and wise decisions. I'm not like, my God, where's she at? I know exactly where she's at. So, and it's not at any parties. But anyways, so that is a long story short of me. So I don't have a formal education. I do not have any degrees hanging behind me, but I do have a wealth of experience and knowledge. And I have become a very good observer in life. I spent the majority of my youth until I was at Notre Dame, like shy and scared. And when you live in an environment that there's just men, like you do a lot of listening, like no, there isn't people really to talk to or talk with until like my aunties or my grandma came, and then it was just like it was like this, and it was just like so wonderful to me. So yeah, so that is all I have for today. I know, just that's it, right? Just that little bit. But I'm really having a lot of fun. I hope somebody out there is having a good time too and can like follow my crazy and my crazy stories. And I hope that it all makes sense. And I hope you have a great day and go out there and bring some joy. But also remember, patience is power, okay? And just be a joy giver and not a joy taker. Like if there's an opportunity, like, and you're in the store, just ask the cashier how their day is. Like you will see how infrequently they get asked by the confusion in their face. You know, like we're all people, like we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be loved, like we want to be accepted. And you know, like you can make such a difference. Or if that's too big for you, you don't really like talking to people, you don't really care about small talk, it's like smile at somebody or wave at somebody in the car. Like I did that today on the way to the gym. I like looked over and the lady looked over, so I was like, hey, and I waved, and she just kind of like drank her, she was like, but then, you know, she kind of was like, hi, you know, like, but still, like, she probably sitting there still thinking, who was that crazy lady? Like, wait, did I know her? Like, what was going on? You know what? Whatever. Like, and then she did wave back. So, you know, you bring somebody some kind of joy, spread something kind. Like, life is too short to, like they said in this morning, like, there's too much pouty people to be like pouty. That those rules are taken. Be the outlier. Be the outside the norm, but in a good way. Like don't be an outlier and be like the miserable one in a room full of happy people. That's lame, you know? Like, yeah, you had a bad day. Yeah, you know, I almost got hit by a car on the way home from the gym, like walking, like the person got in their car and just immediately put it in reverse, and literally I blew my my hydro flask, damaged. It's all dented, you know, and I could have been annoyed or frustrated or been like, hey, watch out, you know. It's just like, I was in a perfect blind spot. Probably, maybe they were in a hurry. I don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they, you know, needed to go to the bathroom. I don't know what their story is. To sit there and get all upset about it was just like, whatever. It's a hydro flask. Good thing it wasn't the new Stanley. I would have been really pissed. But no. I still don't know what I'm going to do with that stupid thing. But yeah, anyways, it happens. Like life happens. Like go out there, like share something, like share a story, like about something that's happened to you. Like talk to your kids. Like I hear so many kids that have come into my house that are friends with my kids that are like, my parents don't talk to me. Like they don't even know what's going, like they're there and they're present. Like they're great. Some of these I'm like, what? Like, it doesn't make sense, you know, like, but just have conversations, like be real with your kids. Like, I don't know. I could go on forever, but I hope you guys have a great day, evening, morning, whatever. And just, yeah, do something small. So if it's like bring somebody joy or have some patience or, you know, like think about trying a different exercise class or trying a class or taking a 1-minute walk, like, or meditating for 1 minute, like do something small but to like make the world better. And how you start by making the world better is making yourself better. And I truly believe that, because like they say, if we have an empty tank, we're going to go nosedive, and we'll get to that next time. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Bye.